because in this video, we're going to be talking about everything about Universal Studios Florida's next major roller coaster, a ride that could be called Fast and Furious Vertical Blitz.
Vertical
With Hollywwod
Blitz.
Rip Ride Rockit officially history.
Damn. You sure? I don't believe so. Come on. If that's the case, take down that other ride. Take down that other ride. Fast and Furious Blitz? Vertical Blitz? I don't know, dog. I honestly don't know.
And now that we know that USF will be adding a new roller coaster from Intamin, there is a ton of different things to speculate about. So you're going to hear my thoughts on when I think this ride's going to open, why I think it will be a Fast and Furious theme, what they have planned for the old Fast and Furious attraction, how large will it be, and what type of coaster it's going to be, and so much more. But first, let's talk about why USF needs this coaster. Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, if you look at Universal Studios Florida's attraction lineup, they desperately need a marquee attraction to really kind of balance out all the parks. And Rocket opened up in 2009. Sadly, it never lived up to the hype as, let's say, Velocicoaster or Stardust.
No, it did. I don't think so. I don't think so again. It may have. What many people don't know again, and this is, and right now I'm recording this. Sorry. What many people don't know is that, yeah, it had its quirks that really didn't scratch the itch for Universal. It didn't fit in Universal. I certainly don't believe that. I certainly didn't believe that. Because Universal, the music wise, it was because Universal had its own record label, which is Universal Music Group. And Universal Studios was trying to kind of like represent a bit of that, even though nobody knew about it, because the theme park was all about to ride the movies. Steven Spielberg said that himself. The theme park was only about to, ride the movies. That was it. But, it was just kind of like their somewhat like attempt that nobody knew. But I won't disrespect that. I won't disrespect it because they had some pretty rising, some artists that we all knew that were in Universal's music group, and they were just trying to represent it. Yes, some of them were very random, very cheesy. I mean, the decorations, I think, but no. It lasted 16 years. It lasted 16 years. All right. A ride like Back to the Future didn't even last at 16 years. It lasted merely 8. King Kong, same. None of them last. They didn't last even a decade. This ride lasted a decade and 6 years. I think have some respect. Have some respect.
Does. So by adding a ride of this magnitude to USF, will only do great things for it. In my opinion, adding a ride like this will really balance out the playing fields when it comes to Epic, IOA, and USF. I still think Studios needs another attraction to really be on the same level as those other parks, but this ride right here, if it done right, and we know Universal will, is definitely a step in the right direction. Which is why I think this coaster needs to open up sooner than later. I really do think the park is going to be expediting this project, and more on my timeline here in a minute here, but I feel like they know that Studios attendance is going to dwindle without Rocket and just, another attraction not there. So I really think that over the next year or so, you're going to start seeing a lot of hype with this ride. People are going to see it obviously be built in front of them, and then once this coaster opens up, the attendance will come back to Universal Studios Florida on a daily basis. Now, obviously, USF is great for special events, and that's where the attendance really comes into high gear. But, I'm talking about regular hours during the daytime and stuff like that. Universal Studios Florida is obviously going to take a little bit of a dip in attendance due to not having Rocket there.
Man, they had a dip in attendance when Epic Universe came in. I went there. It was almost empty. I had to pay almost $200 in that shit. That shit was almost hella empty. Universal Studios need a mean ass glow up. They need a definite glow up. Stop with the Harry Potter BS. Enough Harry Potter, for God's sake. Bro, put in more rides. Put in more themed rides, I should say. I don't want a Jason Bourne legacy. Bring back the Terminator. Put like a drop ride of the Terminator. Bro, Universal needs some. Does Universal Studios Florida needs some serious glow up? They need a serious refurbished build up.
Which brings me to when I think this awesome new coaster is going to open up. Well, my timeline is this. I predict that every piece of rockit will be torn down and removed off-site by mid-September. Yes, I think within a month, this ride is going to be completely gone like it was never there, including the station. Which brings me to, I think vertical construction on this new coaster will start before the end of the year. Meaning that in late 2026, this coaster could potentially be opening, have a grand opening in December of 26, potentially. But most likely, I think early 2027 would make the most sense as far as the timeline goes, just of how large this project is. And a huge shout out goes out to BioReconstruct on X. Be sure to follow him for all these awesome images from above of the construction site. He goes out of his way all the time for these great images of all parks in Central Florida, so definitely check him out. So why Fast and Furious? Well, it makes the most sense for this coaster as far as the IP goes, in my opinion. While I think Ghostbusters would be a unique name for a ride, I feel like that's more going to be a family-based attraction, not a thrill coaster. So with that, I think Fast and Furious makes the most sense here, especially with, obviously Universal Studios Hollywood's opening up their new Fast and Furious Hollywwod Drift Coaster. That's going to be a major success out there. With a franchise like Fast and Furious, high-speed cars, car chases, a coaster makes the most sense, not a 3D ride or a motion simulator. So again, I really think this is going to be a Fast and Furious coaster, and I'm all for that. And as far as the name goes, Fast and Furious Vertigo Blitz, well, more on that in a minute, but I really think that name sounds catchy, it sounds awesome and energetic, just what Universal Studios Florida needs. Now, some of you
Oops, I'm sorry about that.
sounds awesome and energetic, just what Universal Studios Florida needs.
Yeah, one thing I absolutely demand or declare is keep the rails. I want more V rails. That's what I want. I want more V rails. If y'all know what I'm trying to mean. V rails are exactly what you remember in many roller coasters in America and all around the world. Hollywwod Rip by Rocket and the Incredible Hulk. They're basically the tracks like that are kind of like V-shaped. You have the lines. I think, the tracks. The tracks has the V's, the V tracks. That's what I want. I want V tracks. Many coasters nowadays here in Orlando are resulting to the European zigzags, the European box tracks, or affordable. What we yet to have, I think, in Orlando is one roller coaster that has the singular track, like that singular track that you see in Six Flags in Great America. That one we yet have to have. I know SeaWorld has been building hella roller coasters all over the place. It's saying, you know what, y'all niggas, y'all can fight it out. Y'all can fight it out. You Disney and Universal, y'all niggas can box it out. We're here, making bangers. SeaWorld making hella bangers. I'll tell you that. Despite from being an aquarium or losing its attraction of being an aquarium, it made hella banger roller coasters.
Now, some of you are thinking, why would they build a Fast and Furious attraction when they already have one at the park? Well, that's simple. All the park would have to do is simply say the ride's closed forever and then retheme that attraction to something else. Whether it's going to be themed to Back to the Future or something else entirely, this is a big piece of real estate, as you can see right here, for Universal Studios Florida to use. So I definitely see a new attraction being located here. very soon after the Fast and Furious coaster opens up in late 26 or early 2027. And let's be honest, Fast and Furious Supercharged is probably one of the worst attractions in the history of USF.
Yes,
now,
it
if you're
was.
thinking about heading to
It
Florida
was
for a
horrible.
theme park vacation, I really want you to have the best experience possible. And while sadly I'm not a travel agent myself, I wanted to create a free website for you to connect with trusted travel agents who will help plan your entire Orlando vacation for absolutely free. After all, planning an Orlando vacation is not only launch or two.
Yeah, God, bro, Fast and Furious Supercharged is such dog shit. Another one, another ride that is so pointless has to be Kong Skull Island. That ride has to be the most pointless ass ride ever. Like they don't like we have the Lost Continent. You could change the Lost Continent to Lord of the Rings, bro. They have the Lost Continent in Islands of Adventure. They could turn that to Lord of the Rings. Don't put Legend of Zelda. Put Lord of the Rings in Islands of Adventure, bro. And take Kong Skull Island out. It is the most pointless ass ride out there.
I just don't see it. I think it'd be very repetitive if it has launches like Velocicoaster, Hagrid's, and Hiccups.
Nice.
That is why, instead of having a launch be horizontal, you make it vertical. Now, Intamin has debuted this awesome looking concept, the vertical launch coaster, and while we have yet to see one here open up in America, these things are the future. I really feel like this type of ride is going to blow up. And what better way to pay homage to Rip Ride Rockit than having a vertical launch coaster that launches you into a top hat, very similar to Rockit, but only a little bit taller. Now, as you can see, this layout is very skinny, but yet offers so many unique elements, inversions, airtime hills, awesome transitions. There's so many cool things that Intamin and Universal Studios Florida could do with this style of ride in this very, very skinny but long plot of land. That is why, again, I think a ride just like this would make the most sense for Rip Ride Rockit's replacement. Now, before I share with you all my details on just how large this coaster will be and more, if you're looking for some new coaster merch, check out keepridingcoasters.com. I really do appreciate all the support, and I really do furious vertical. I predict that this coaster is going to feature over 4,500 feet of track.
And there's another brand out there that's also competing against Intamin. It's not B&M. I think there's one from China. We gotta check out the ones in China. In China, they had that too. Intamin China. There's a Chinese brand out there that they're also going to be jumping into. I think there's a Chinese brand, either Chinese brand or somewhere or Japanese brand that does build roller coasters. I think also in Europe, they also kind of they are more responsible building a few. I think the Stardust Racers in Epic Universe and parts of SeaWorld.
Reach a top speed of 72 miles an hour, and the tallest point of the ride is going to be the 180-foot tall top hat, which is 13 feet taller than Rip Ride Rockit, which will make this the tallest, fastest coaster you're going to find at Universal Orlando Resort.
Yep.
Throughout the layout, you're going to get flipped upside down 3 different times. I think this ride's going to feature more airtime hills and turns than inversions, just because Rockit does not have any inversions and there's no other ones at USF. So I think this ride, while it's going to be very thrilling, it's going to be more focused on the flow to airtime in general, and just really kind of a cool twisted layout over just all inversion focused. Now this part's really cool. With having such a long coaster, I feel like there's going to be 2 launches, one vertical and one horizontal. And as far as the entire layout goes, well, it's going to cover this entire area here, and I predict that part of the ride's layout is actually going to go over the City Walk path as you see right here. I just think that makes the most sense. This is how you really get people.
Hold up a second.
Here, I just think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, it's gonna take over this whole area too. So you might need a bridge from that side. Yeah, or it's gonna have an opening sidewalk that cruises through there. However, the ones right there, that's for sure. Oh man, I think, but yeah, this ride is.
This is how you really get people to be even more excited about a ride. Something that Islands of Adventure does not offer. I just think that's going to really attract more people to it. Just seeing the ride, but seeing it up close and personal. The station area will be located way beyond the Rocket Treble Clef area, really extending the USF footprint and including a brand new plaza area for the ride. Now, one of the biggest questions regarding this coaster is, what are the trains going to be like? More like Velocicoaster trains or more like the spinning trains that you're going to find at Universal Studios Hollywood's Fast and Furious coaster? Well, since we already have Hiccup's Wing Gliders, Hagrid's, and Velocicoaster featuring pretty much the same style setup, I think that this ride's going to feature the spinning trains. They're going to spin a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. And I think that's really going to be a very unique feature for this ride. And for marketing
Like
reasons
Pope's
alone,
Curse.
I think it's going to be a huge hit. Overall, a ride like Fast and Furious Vertigo Blitz would bring yet another top 10 worthy coaster to Universal Orlando Resort. I mean, when you mix this style of ride in with Velocicoaster and then Stardust Racers and even some for Hagrid's, that is amazing. I cannot wait to see what gets announced, and I do believe that we will start to see an announcement come rather sooner than later because they want to get this ride open as soon as possible
Oh yeah.
and creating as much buzz with it as they possibly can.
Meanwhile, Disney is out there sitting their ass and drinking their booze of how amazing that Tron coaster was built in Magic Kingdom.
As well. Now, if you're planning a trip to
Meanwhile, this freaking roller coaster is gonna be paying homage to Hollywwod Rocket, like Sabo was eating the fire fruit from Porca's Ace and back in One Piece. He said like, Ace, I've granted your power, bro. This ride will probably this ride if Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket was Portuguese Ace, bro. This guy then intimate this ride with Fast and Furious is gonna be Sabo for One Piece. This is basically a One Piece kind of ride, bro. On God, bro. On God.